everyone, and thank you for joining us here on the Recruitment Roundup podcast, which is brought to you by BMS Performance. For those of you that are joining us for the first time, BMS Performance is a specialist sales and marketing recruitment consultancy. For the last 30 years, we've been helping businesses across the UK recruit for vacancies at every level. I'm your host, Mike Leather, and every week I'll be joined by a new guest where we'll get stuck into the latest trends in regards to recruitment. We'll talk about insights, we share ideas, we share experiences, and ultimately we look to provide value to fundamentally help you, whether or not you're a hiring manager, a business leader, or part of an internal talent team, to recruit smarter, faster, and more effectively. Thank you for everyone joining us, and this is episode 10. And today I'm joined by my colleague Natasha Holland. Natasha, welcome to the show. Great to have you here with us.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Good. Exciting conversation today where we are going to be dipping into the world of TikTok and Instagram and chatting about how companies can attract emerging talent through those platforms, which is quite new. Even for me, I'm not on TikTok, so I'm going to learn something today. But before we get into it, why don't you kick us off by giving us a bit of information about yourself, Natasha? What you do at BMS and why you got into the world of recruitment in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. Gosh, what a whirlwind. Well, yeah, no, as I said, Natasha here, senior consultant at BMS Performance. I've been here for nearly 2 years. It will be 2 years in a couple of weeks, so that's quite exciting.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. In regards to going into the recruitment industry, I do feel like it's not always something when you're younger, you wake up and go, yeah, I want to be in recruitment or sales, unless you've got family members in there. So for me, it was just looking at my personality, some of my passions being performing arts and acting and things like that. And then I thought, how can I apply things that I enjoy, such as, well, I guess, performing, my personality, talking to people, being that people person that everyone refers to, in a way to then make money from it, being quite a money motivated character. I prefer the finer things in life. So recruitment cropped up when I was looking online, LinkedIn, Indeed, those sort of things. And then it went from there. So it was a chance to be challenged, completely something new. I don't really have many friends that are in the industry either. Threw myself into the interview process, and here we are 2 years later.
So did you apply to BMS for a role here, or were you one of the ones that one of many really good people that we've had that have come through the assessment and then have found themselves taken on by us?
Yeah, no, so I did apply directly. I had a little look into BMS and what they were about, and it was right in the end of COVID. I mean, COVID went on for so long, but I mean, in my eyes, it was when people were coming out of lockdown, you were able to go back into the offices, and that for me was the real end, if you like. So yeah, it was then, and then I think when BMS came back into the office, they hadn't been in the London office for a little while, and that was my first day here.
You're like me. I actually applied to join BMS as well. I think we're almost a bit of the rare ones with that. I think a lot of people that we take on, they don't think of recruitment as a career. A lot of people don't, and it's something that they fall into and realise that are really good at it. It gets into the blood, and the rest is history, and they do really well. So what sort of job do you do at BMS, Natasha? What sort of roles do you work on? I think it'd be good for the audience to get a bit of background on you and from that perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. So being a senior consultant, started off in that graduate role, and promoted to a senior consultant about 8 to 10 months in, I think. And I attract and place graduates into professional business-to-business sales positions. And these are graduates with little to no experience. So we guide them through the interview process. We give them that support and guidance to find the end goal of being placed into a career with development progression, as most graduates are looking for. And they could be your sales development representatives, they could be your business development executives, business development manager roles, or the, of course, warmer side account management, field sales positions. So there is a variety of things to go into.
And is that outside of London and the southeast, or you mainly London centric in terms of roles that you work on?
Yeah, so for the first year of being a senior consultant, it was mostly throughout the whole of the UK. As of recently, I now solely focused on in and around London.
Yeah, Cool. There'll be a lot of companies and hiring managers, internal talent, recruitment managers that are listening to this that will recruit entry-level salespeople into BDE, SDR, BDR type roles, and probably finding it quite difficult to recruit, quite difficult to attract candidates. Hopefully this podcast can help them with that and give them another avenue to consider going down. But what sort of shape is the candidate market in right now? Well, the graduate candidate market?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there will always be graduates looking to kickstart their careers, and being the seasonal type of recruitment that it is, as you go through I think May to September times, it's super busy. You get that rush of people wanting to get into their new positions as they're graduating or as they're looking to then start their careers. But when you look at the economy and what's been happening for the last, let's say, 6 months, you've got the businesses who know what they're doing and they don't take their foot off the mark, and they keep getting graduates in because they are a long-term investment, which is fantastic. But then obviously for, I guess, maybe companies who become a bit more cautious, they stop hiring. So it has been a little bit difficult in terms of getting the people who aren't experienced in. But again, there's always room for these graduates who are essentially the long-term investments.
Yeah. How quickly are you finding candidates go off and on that come on and go off the market at the moment from a graduate standpoint?
Yeah, it's extremely competitive at the moment. The good candidates, they're being snatched up quickly. So it is, like the podcast name, what we're talking about, having to think outside of the box to attract these candidates, get that buy-in, and then place them from there.
What before we move on to sort of the main subject of the podcast, what are some of the more desirable industry sectors at the moment, and for candidates to be interested in? Like, what are you seeing when people are coming through? What are they saying that they want to work in? What areas? And also, I guess, what are some of the main drivers for graduate candidates at the moment when they're thinking about joining a new company, thinking about getting into sales?
Yeah, absolutely. And you've got so many different types of graduates. You have the people who obviously want, I guess, more of the sexy SaaS roles, tech sales.
Yeah.
They want to be in, central London, working in the city or Canary Wharf and those sort of places, which is fantastic. And we absolutely work on those opportunities. And then you also have fantastic candidates who are looking for simply development and progression. They don't want to be stagnant. And what I'm finding more so now, I'm having conversations about not necessarily caring the industry that they're in, but they are passionate about sales. They want to be in a position where they can develop and then have promotions within the first 6 to 12 months, and they want to be able to work towards something. So it's hard to pinpoint one thing, but development progression in all roles, you can get a candidate to go into that kind of position easily.
Yeah, having a succession plan for someone coming in, starting with a company, and being able to see where they can go, what the career ladder looks like, has always been a constant. It doesn't sound like that's changed at all. No. Okay. So we know for a lot of companies at the moment, whether they're recruiting a graduate or even they're recruiting someone with sales experience, the volume of good caliber applicants that they're seeing isn't really what they would like. They'd always want to see more. I think some of the conversations we've been having over the last 12 months as companies getting used to the idea that at final interview stage you might only have 1 or 2 people, rather than a couple of years back they might have had 3 or 4 because the market's changed. And I think one of the reasons for that as well is how a candidate goes about their job search has also changed. They are less proactive and more reactive, I would say. So we brought you on here and was really keen to get you on, Natasha, to talk about some of the work that you've done using platforms like TikTok and like Instagram in order to attract talents that might not have come through an advert at all. I think a good starting point would be maybe to sort of go right back to the reason why you decided to start using those social media platforms, and why are you finding it that those platforms are unearthing candidates that might not have ordinarily come through?
Yeah, well, absolutely. I think to kick things off, what you've just said, these candidates that I'm looking for, they don't have much commercial awareness or sometimes experience on how you do go about getting the best job, or how you expose yourself and get the exposure that you're looking for. So they're not necessarily on LinkedIn. They may not have created profiles. So I was thinking, how am I going to get the target audience when they may not even know to look in those sort of places? So I, luckily being someone who wasn't in that position too long ago, thought, how would I go about finding these new opportunities, or how would I be attracted to something if I'm not proactively, like you said, looking for it? So I looked at what I'm into, and that of course is TikTok, Instagram, and again, no idea is ever your own completely. I saw something on my TikTok as I was scrolling through one day, and it was a day in the life of someone in a business to business sales position. And of course, recruitment being a vertical of sales, I can completely relate. And I was interested in that person. I then went onto their page. I had a real look through more things that they'd done, and I thought, oh my God, fantastic. So I created a day in a life of what I do as a recruitment consultant. And from there, I just had comments coming in saying, oh, what is it that you do? How do I get into this? Or what other roles do you work on? So it was really the exposure that I needed to kickstart things, because it was okay, this definitely works. So then I naturally, when we work on, I guess, closed assessment days or projects for certain clients, I then tailor it completely to those clients and what a potential candidate may be doing if they go into that position. And that could be, just as an example of an assessment day that we run for those clients, or when I'm in their offices, I can take some content to obviously show off everything that they could be going into. So they get that extra buy-in that you would miss if you're just picking up the phone and saying, this is the opportunity, and you can sell it as best as you can, but they can see it for themselves and they get a real life insight to it. So naturally, it was trying to get to the people that I think we are missing when we aren't moving with the times, and tapping into the tools that we are given, and that is such a growing platform.
It is, and the way people engage and communicate has just changed, and it's ever evolving, isn't it? And I totally agree. I think long gone are the days where a candidate just has a one-dimensional approach to their job search, and that is, in the sense of just applying for job adverts. And I think the way that you've explained that there is really good. I am curious as well, what other platforms have you used other than TikTok, and how have you used those platforms?
Sure. So I've absolutely used Instagram. I have found, though, that trying to, I guess, get the exposure on Instagram is a little bit more difficult. But we have tapped into Instagram, created work profiles, because as much as I've got a decent amount of people following me on Instagram, of course, you want to separate the work person that you are and obviously the person you are in your social life and whatnot. So created a separate profile. But with Instagram, you really do have to follow people to get them to follow you back. Your account won't just pop up on someone's feed page as it does with TikTok. So we've tapped into Instagram. And of course, you've got LinkedIn, and you can always reshare posts from LinkedIn, post them on your Instagram, which is another tool that I guess you can't do on TikTok. And you can create reels and things like that on Instagram.
Yeah. Why is it? Why was Instagram more difficult?
I think with TikTok, and this is why it is so popular, as I said, you can go on your For You page, which is technically the home page. You don't have to be following these accounts for their videos to pop up. You simply have to be liking videos that may have the same sort of relation to a video that you post, or follow accounts that may post the same sort of content you do. So TikTok does it all for you, whereas Instagram, it is a bit more manual, and you do have to do it all yourself and follow loads of people to get them to follow you back and things like that.
Yeah, for it to start noticing what you're doing and for you to then come up in that other person's algorithms. Is that right? Yeah,
absolutely. And there's so many tricks and tips which I can go into at the end with TikTok that you can do. Instagram's a little bit harder to crack.
Yeah. What have you learned? Have we focused on TikTok then? Because it sounds like that's where you're having the most success, and it's the fastest growing social media platform as well. So let's sit in the TikTok box for a bit. What have you found that works really well, and what have you learned that doesn't work that well? And this could be quite useful for people listening who are, this is a piquing their interest and they're thinking, well, what do I need to do to get it working? What should I not do?
Yeah, with TikTok, it's hard because it's not that things don't necessarily work that or don't work. It's that they just don't work as well as other things. So I think with TikTok, it's really important that you can post fun things and you're following trends, and that could be a voiceover from a certain sound,
Right.
or
Okay.
you're doing a certain dance trend, but you can make it work related by putting in things that you want people to know about what you do or how you can help them. So in my example, we could do a dance trend, but in the background you could put text on there about getting graduates' attention, placing them into careers with development progression, earning X amount of money in your first year as a entry level position. So it's being able to combine the trends that are going on TikTok at the moment, and you slowly learn them as you follow certain accounts and scroll through the For You page, and also being relatable. And I think that's one of the things that this platform allows you to do. And I think building your brand on LinkedIn is just as important as it is with these platforms such as Instagram
Yeah,
and
that's a really good
TikTok.
point.
Yeah, because and I had people that we've hired at BMS who said that some of my TikTok videos actually stood out to them, and with graduates as well, being in the right cultural fit and being in a place where you think this is somewhere I'm going to thrive, and you can really see it for yourself as opposed to having to just take it for word. It gets that buy-in that you might miss again. So being relatable, showing that you are a person, being fun as well, and also giving them that insight on how you can help without even having to have the conversation first, and it will go from there. But as an example of a success, to answer your question, I always do days in the lives. I always show them what my clients do, what I do, and I have that work side. But the most successful video we ever had, I think it got 30k views. It got over 1,000 likes, and it was a few of my colleagues and I doing some an ABBA dance around the office. I dragged some of the marketing and sales team into it as well, and we all did it in our lunchtime, so we didn't miss any work. And yeah, it was super successful. And then everyone in the comments was asking, what do you do, what sort of roles do you work on? And it had nothing to do with work, but they wanted to know what BMS did, as I put in the caption, welcome to BMS. So it got that exposure.
Right. Okay. So I've got several follow-up questions here from what you said there, because you've covered loads. Right. What is a dance trend?
Okay, so it could be anything from a 7-second video of you dancing to a certain popular sound, and you are dancing. So if you haven't got that in your locker, then you might miss it. But yeah, that's essentially a dance trend.
Yeah. Okay. And you mentioned the word relatable, which I think is really important. How do you position yourself as relatable on a platform like that? How do you construct that?
I think, and again, so many different types of characters are recruiters or in the sales positions, but it's breaking the mold of that. You have to be completely professional in that sense. You can always keep it professional, but it's okay to, for an example, do a dance trend and post it on your LinkedIn. I think there's a fine line between what you use LinkedIn for. It's not a social media platform, but TikTok is a social media platform that you're using in the way that you would want to get the same results as LinkedIn. So it's just being a normal person, really.
Just humanizing it, basically.
Yeah.
But even on LinkedIn, though, some of the posts that got the highest engagement, they are people's, pictures of what they've done at the weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people that work in my team, and one individual that goes on quite a lot of holidays and likes putting holiday posts up, and he gets ridiculous amounts of views and all kinds. And if he's listening to this, he'll know exactly what I'm talking about him. But yeah, okay. So how with TikTok then? How did you build a following in the first place on it? Because that's what I'm trying to understand, because you're talking about the videos are more visible on TikTok because people don't necessarily need to follow you. So talk to me about how you built that following and how long it took you to get it going.
Absolutely. So I mean, I've been TikToking since the first lockdown. I think that's where it really did get the popularity from, because everyone was at home. And it's just about being consistent, as it is on LinkedIn. You have to post to get yourself out there. You can follow accounts that do the same sort of thing as you, or other recruitment consultancies that I've seen on there. You follow their accounts because you can get inspiration from videos. Naturally, they will follow you back as well. But again, as I said, it's not just down to that. So being consistent with the posting, doing different things on TikTok. You can talk over videos with music in the background. That's very on a low volume. You can talk over it, so you're explaining what this video even is, where people don't have to guess and then go in the comments and ask you. And yeah, you follow the trends. As an example, the ABBA trend that we did, that was going around at the moment, and I thought, brilliant, let's do it in work. And from that video, I think I went from maybe 400 and something followers, and it got me to over 1,000 followers. So when a video is popular, people start following you, and then hopefully it will keep going from there.
So the video is popular, that video keeps showing to anyone and everyone who has been searching for similar types of content or viewing similar types of content. Am I right in thinking that?
Absolutely. And it's not even just what you're searching, it's how long TikTok's incredibly clever. And again, I could be just going off of things I've seen on Reddit and whatnot, but TikTok looks at how long you stay on a video. So if you rewatch a video, or you don't just flick past it and go straight to the next one, if it's a similar sort of video to the ones that you post, they will naturally guide your profile in those directions. Everyone has a different For You page. And it's all down to the sort of videos you like. It's down to the videos that you save. Could even be down to things that you say and your phone picks up on. So there are so many different elements of it. But if it will essentially get you to the audience that you're looking for, so it does it all for you.
How important are hashtags on TikTok? Because they are on Instagram, aren't they? They are on LinkedIn.
Yeah, absolutely. There are hashtags that people put that are trending, and they're extremely random, and I haven't yet cracked the hashtag code because I'm not always on top of it. But as an example, I didn't put any hashtags on the main video that went for us, and it just reached the right people and went from there.
Interesting. How many times do you post a week?
Well, again, so work TikTok, personal TikTok, I post everything in both. I'd probably post once a week. And that could be from the weekend, something fun from the weekend, again, to get that brand and the buy-in, and to show that I'm a normal person as well. Work related, usually when there's something going on and that I want people to see, and it's important for them to see. So it can vary, but I'd say once a week for both personal and work.
Yeah. And do they have private profiles on TikTok as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do they?
So
right, okay.
You can make a private profile, same as Instagram. You can be either public or private, so quite similar in that sense.
Okay, cool. So let's think about the journey then. So you do a really cool TikTok video. Candidate or prospective candidate looks at it. How do you engage with that candidate? Like, what does the messaging look like? If they respond to one of your TikToks and message, say this looks great, I'd be interested in sales vacancies. Like, how are you responding formally to them, informally? What's that messaging and communication look like?
Absolutely. I think when you do post the fun videos, I think you always have to implement that level of professionalism with it. So usually when I post the video, the caption is usually, if you want to know more, put something in the comments, because with TikTok, it depends on your settings, but they can't always just send you a message if you don't follow them.
Right. Okay. That's useful for the audience to know. Yeah. Great.
Yeah. To do with privacy. So I always say, put in the comments if you want to know more, and I'll drop you a message and we can talk from there. So it's completely formal, I think, in that sense. The TikTok is the fun part, and then you get to show them that insight that you will be taking their job search seriously and professionally, and I want to be able to get them the end goal that they're looking for. So you get them in the comments, and then you take it to the inbox or LinkedIn, and then you can go from there.
Yeah, bit of an off-the-cuff question. I'm just curious, and you might not have the stats for it. How many candidates do you reckon you're getting through percentage-wise, roughly, each week from TikTok and other forms of social media?
I would say that, to combine TikTok and LinkedIn, the content I post on TikTok, I post on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And what I found from LinkedIn, once I got over that sort of, I think, 4,000 mark, I get connections just every single day with graduates. So I'm already in the target market I'm looking for, looking for these positions. They can see that I'm actively placing people and I'm putting it on social media, and they've got that buy-in there already. So I think there's a high percentage of people that I speak with every day that has come from success of TikTok and LinkedIn combined. It's harder to take people from TikTok into the LinkedIn world in that sense because of the privacy settings, and it sort of blocks to an extent. But the content I'm making on TikTok is super successful on LinkedIn, and that's helped massively. So not sure percentages wise, but it's a high percentage now daily.
Yeah, it's definitely having a profound impact, and you're constantly building your personal brand. So like you say, you're building a personal brand within that candidate market, and they know you for a lot of your videos, and then that increases your popularity, and it just snowballs from there, doesn't it? So I think it's great. I think it's great what you've done. We always like to get practical on the podcast. So let's say, for example, I am a talent acquisition manager for a SaaS company. I'm listening to this and I'm thinking, wow, this sounds great. We want to get more graduates through the door, more emerging talent, but I've never used TikTok at all. I wouldn't know where to start. Can you give us an example of how you might sort of coach me to plan a TikTok video to be attractive to candidates for like a typical SDR type job?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, again, candidates know what they want because they've looked into certain positions, but there's always stigmas around certain roles. So I think if it's an opportunity where you're probably going to be sat at the desk picking up the phone quite a bit, you're going to have that rejection. It's probably quite hard, but of course always highly rewarding. I think it's using a TikTok video to show them a different side to that position. So potentially the culture that you work in. If you have something fun, such as, I don't know, you play a song when you secure a deal, or you book a demo or something like that. It's doing a TikTok video of, I don't know, the journey from calling 50 people, getting that one successful phone call, and then, I don't know, you ring a bell or something like that. It's just showing the process of the fun parts to get a buy into the culture and then the company that you are. It's always just taking that first step to create the account. I mean, even LinkedIn was new at a point. People probably were umming and ahhing about it. I think it was created in 2006, but the popularity really came in 2010 and 11. So it will be the same with TikTok, and you'll wish that you just got in there and moved with the times a little sooner.
Excellent. Right. So to finish off with then, and to wrap up this podcast with, I think it'd be great if you were able to give the audience just three of your top tips on how companies and hiring managers can, begin to start using it, so they start seeing the same benefits from it that you've experienced. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, aside from creating the profile, which is sometimes the hardest step, creating the profile, I think it's just, you do have to do a bit of research with everything. Look at what is trending. As an example, a tip could be the 7-second videos with texts on the screen with the trending sound. They always do well. So that's just 7 seconds. Any text that you want on the screen with a trending sound, that will do well. It will hopefully become a little bit viral of some sort. So that's the first tip. And again, it's focusing on, I guess, the content you're creating will attract the people that are attracted to that sort of thing. So making sure that if you are looking for people who are going into the sales opportunities or recruitment opportunities, the content's relatable to them. And whether that be anything in FMCG, you could make it food or beverage related. So it's just being clever with the sort of content you create, because that will then naturally attract those sort of candidates.
I think that's a really good point, that thinking about the type of profile you want to recruit, and then putting yourself in their shoes and thinking, well, if I'm in their shoes, what sort of things are going to appeal to me? What am I going to look at and be interested in? I think that's a really good tip.
Yeah, absolutely. It is literally like sales. You get out what you put in that sense. Yeah. So definitely. Yeah. And final tip is being consistent with it. If you post one video every month, you might get traction, but it will take a lot longer, as opposed to posting just one a week. And that could just be filtered into your routine. Maybe every Wednesday morning you post something, and that could be a short video, it could be a long video, it could be a day in a life, it could be the journey that you have into work, or something fun. And it will start to become a habit.
Great. Brilliant. Well, thank you for that. I think you've done a great job with this. I thought that was a really, really interesting episode, and definitely something that a lot of the companies that we work with and companies that we don't work with that are listening to this podcast, I'm sure we'll take something from. So thanks for coming on. It's great to have you on this episode and learn a lot myself about TikTok as well. I don't think about I'm like that, creating a profile, but that's TBC. But yeah, thank you for coming on.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
That's all right. Our pleasure. So that wraps up another episode of the Recruitment Roundup podcast. Thank you very much for listening to the show, to watching the show. We really appreciate your support. It would be absolutely fantastic if you could give us a rating on Apple, on Spotify, give us a review. Any feedback really helps and is massively appreciated. So thank you once again for joining us, and we will hopefully see you again next week.